is pretty cool. So what else would you like to say about this airplane?
Well, it probably has a unique tail number, N number, which is 3-4 Foxtrot uniform. A lot of fun with that sometimes and get a lot of comments. And of course, the paint scheme on it is from the VFA 103 Navy fighter squadron, and with the skull and crossbone referred to as the Jolly Roger.
Jolly Rogers.
And it's pretty special to me.
So is there anything else you would like to talk about to kind of get my audience excited to become a pilot and mark that off their fun bucket list or the aviation bucket list?
Oh, well, yeah, just when you start your training, just relax and enjoy it, because it's not as hard as some people think, but you do have to devote your time to it. You can't go too long without flying, and just enjoy the learning process, which we never stop learning anyway.
So for me to be a pilot, what are the steps that I have to do?
Well, you have to have ground school and learn the rules, regulations, and which is important. And today, it isn't as hard as it was some years ago, because there's airspaces you have to learn, places that you cannot fly into without talking to controllers. All this is important. Right? And then, of course, learning how to fly the airplane is probably the easiest part. But the harder part would be probably the stuff that you have to learn in the classroom.
So would you say that landing is the hardest part, or the takeoff?
The landing is probably the hardest part. Sometimes it takes you a few times to get it right. And it always helps if you have the wind blowing straight towards you. But crosswind, special training for that. If the wind wants you push you to one side or the other of the runway, learn to use the rudder pedals and the ailerons to keep the airplane tracking on a straight line to land on the crosswind. And that's probably the hardest part.
Wow. And I'm going to be 57 years old. So yeah, I probably should have started when I was 20, when I was living over by Travis, but it just seems like years later, I got more excited about it. And it was just really weird when Top Gun came out, because it was right around the same, within a 1 or 2 years time, that I started working for the military civil service. So that's kind of ironic. And then 36 years later, I'm here interviewing F-14 pilots, radar intercept officers, people that were a part of the movie. And yes, it's pretty epic for all this to come full circle. I was never able to be in the military, but I feel that I'm paying it forward to everybody who is or who was in the military.
Yes.
So we have Army birthday coming up. So I am going to sing happy birthday. You ready?
Ready.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. U.S. Army, happy birthday. Woo! There you go. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything else? We have about 5 minutes left on the show before we close out.
No, it just so happens that I was older too when I got my pilot's license, and my instructor asked me, "Why do you want to learn to fly?" It's something I want to do since I was a kid. But one thing he did mention, I was reluctant to do maneuvers without him demonstrating it to me. He said, when I tell a young guy to do something, he does it. Every time I ask you to do something like a stall, you have to question it. I said, just demonstrate it to me, please. I don't know anything about airplanes. I'm new at this stuff. So, I had a lot of fun learning to fly at an older age, and me still being in the Army, I'd go out some morning before going to work.
Yeah.
Get a chance to scare myself a couple of times after I had soloed. Get caught up there in the wind in the pattern early in the morning, and land after trying to land after 5 or 6 tries. But all that stuff was exciting. So I'm glad I got through it.
How about crashes? Have you crashed?
No crash.
Really?
Only
Oh my
I had
God.
a couple with the Beechcraft. I only had one incident where the landing gear didn't come down, and I had to go out and crank it down manually. So, but thankfully, no serious incidents.
So where did you get the paint job from?
The person I bought it from, Pete Scala,
Mm-hmm.
he had that painted, the Jolly Roger paint scheme.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
One of my favorite squadrons for sure. How about you? Do you have any stories about Top Gun? One of your favorite scenes, let's say from the original movie? I actually just seen the new movie on Friday over in Burbank, and it was amazing because it was in an IMAX theater, and the seats were rumbling as the F-14s were taking off the catapult. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I didn't see the Top Gun 2 yet, but my favorite and the number one was when he was inverted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keeping up with foreign relations, right?
Yeah.
But you got to agree that the beginning of that movie is probably the best part of that whole movie. Just seeing those cats take off, or the tomcats take off the catapult. Yeah, and then one after the other. It's really amazing. It's a rush for me. Yeah.
It was beyond my wildest dreams after seeing 1986 movie that I would be flying in the Miramar Air Show along with the Blue Angels and being able to fly in the same.
Oh, that's so cool.
So,
Wow.
so way beyond my wildest dreams. So, but it's happened.
Have you ever been out there to the edge of California where they practice, where the Blue Angels practice?
I have El Centro. I've
Oh,
participated in their air show a few years back, probably 6-7 years ago, and
oh.
yeah.
So when is a good time to go? Is it the beginning of the year? Because I know that the beginning of the year before, and I think it was 2021. Yeah, they did have a thing. I think the beginning of or the middle of January, where a whole bunch of aviation geeks were there watching them do flyovers.
Oh yeah. To practice what the practice is, that's a good time to go. And of course, when they open the first air show of the season, that's another good time to go.
Awesome. So this is the part of the show where we do shout outs. Would you like to shout out anybody in aviation?
All my buddies, John Flipping at Gillespie Field, Randy Ball,
Nice.
Roy Knight, and all the dudes out there, T34 dudes.
That is awesome. So I would like to shout out to, as always, I always shout out David Bronick, Top Gun Days book. Definitely check it out on Amazon.com. Also, Michael Sheriff with the Top Gun movie fans. Yeah, I don't know how many fans we have now, but there's quite a number of fans. Let's see who else. Rob Todd. He actually was a launcher on an aircraft carrier of the F-14. Javier Medina, he worked on the USS Enterprise when Top Gun, the movie, was actually filmed. He was actually there watching it all. And he has some great stories. If you go to Butlers Coach web show live on YouTube, you could actually see his story. And he actually talked about, I believe it's in Orange County. I can't remember what city, but it's a combat airplane program that you can take where you're actually in combat and dogfighting in the air. It's pretty amazing. It's around like 1,500 a person. So he's going to come back on where he's talking specifically about that. But when he came on a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about his life in aviation, you know, as his naval career, and a little bit about the dogfighting. But we're going to be featuring that more. There's so many people. Oh my God. I want to say F-14 podcast on Instagram. If it wasn't for Lorenzo, which he's not a naval guy, but he lives near where all the Tomcats were built. So he has a lot of passion for that. So he hooked me up with Gerald Leaky Leakster, which was the very first F-14 person and the very first aviation guest I've had on the show, which was almost a year ago. So just want to do some big shout outs. So let's see, we have some comments here. Oh, Javier Medina. Hey, Cindy and George. George, any structural modifications to that T34 wing? Thanks.
No modifications to the wing. The B model has about a 1 degree dihedral that's different from the A model, but no modification. Just the engine from the 0470 to the IO 520.
Okay, we have about 1 minute left in the show. So on a recap, we are talking about the Beechcraft T34 Mentor. Tell my audience again what this airplane is about.
The airplane was the B model, and it's used mostly for the trainer. This aircraft was 1956, and the first Mentor was built around 1949 when the Air Force and the Navy purchased them. And there's very much more to tell. Designed by Beechcraft, so it's nice aircraft, nice handling aircraft.
And one tip, tell my audience what was so amazing about being a part of the Army during your career.
Well, I was reluctant to accept my last assignment at a university after being a drill sergeant and first sergeant. And but I'm glad I did, because I had a chance to see young people grow from a teenager to be commissioned and go out and serve into the Army as a commissioned officer of the Army and the Air Force. We had Air Force training there too.
Well, thank you so much. I would love to have you on again, and we could talk here in the next couple of days and get you on the schedule. And anything you want to talk about related to aviation, or if you want to talk about the trainer airplane here. And I need a ride in that, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to make that happen and add that to my bucket list.
Easy.
Easy. Well, right on. I'm going to put you in the green room. Just 1 second. I think I have another comment first. Okay. Oh, so this is the name of it. It is Air Combat USA, and it's at the Orange County Airport. And he says, yes, me too. Javier, do you have one more question for George before I put him in the green room? See if he has any questions here. Anything you want to add in case he has a question?
Was that for me?
In aviation, how do you feel about the aviation community? Isn't it pretty amazing how you can connect with aviators, and they're in a whole different realm?
It's just such a small world, and that's where you find the best people in aviation. Sorry to have to say that, but yeah, a really tight knit brotherhood, and it's the best thing I've done that I had wanted to do. Maybe thought I would never be able to do that, because when I was growing up, it seemed impossible. But here I am, and enjoying the rest of the term.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put you in the green room, and Javier and George, I'm going to do a private direct message so you two could connect. You're two people that you definitely need to meet and build that rapport, and the Aviation Tribe is like no other. So anything else before I pop you in the room?
I'm good. Okay.
Thank you, George. Well, there you go. What an amazing plane. The Mentor, the T34 Mentor, is definitely one for your bucket list. Go out there and make out your list.